Good evening and welcome to A Slice of Life. I'm your host, Jim Therian. I currently work at the Old Saybrook Transfer Station, and I must admit, I am passionate about trash and recycling. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about trash and recycling. But first, a little backstory. Mr. Carl Fortuna, our first selectman in Old Saybrook, invited me to serve on both the Old Saybrook Waste and Recycling Task Force and the statewide CCSMM Commission, both of which I accepted. Old Saybrook's Waste and Recycling Task Force was created by Mr. Fortuna to explore ways of reducing tonnage of trash that Old Saybrook pays to haul away. The CCSMM stands for the Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Materials Management. The CCSMM was formed by Katie Dykes, the commissioner at the Connecticut DEP, to explore ways to reduce the amount of trash that is generated in our state. But more specifically, though, to reduce the tonnage of trash that municipalities have to pay to haul away. I started recycling in September of 1970, which was about the same year as the first Earth Day celebration. At that time, I thought I was living in North Haven, and the North Haven Recycling Center was just a short walk away from my childhood home. Recycling seemed then, as it does now, to be a good idea, a good way of recycling cans and bottles. In forest, minerals and nutrients are used over and over again in a never-ending cycle of growth and decay and rebirth. But let's go back to tonight's topic of trash and recycling. Now, before I talk to you about recycling, I really need to talk to you about trash. The biggest challenge about getting the public concerned about trash is that trash just simply goes away. It just goes away, never to be seen again. For the longest time, away has been a landfill somewhere in Connecticut or the trash-to-energy plant up in Hartford. Here in Connecticut, we are facing two big issues concerning our trash. First and foremost, there are no active landfills operating in Connecticut anymore. Well, there's a few, but those landfills are only open to the residents of the town where the landfills are located. There are no more mega landfills like this one up in Hartford, which is lovingly called Mount Trashmore. Ladies and gentlemen, we are running out of room. The problem with landfills is that eventually they fill up. Over the life of the landfill gradually takes on the shape of a pyramid. Towards the top, the available space for dumping trash gets less and less because there's just not enough room up there on top. Eventually, it gets so small up on top that it is no longer economically feasible to keep operating the landfill, and then the landfill gets shut down. Then, and here's the tricky part, if your society maintains its dependence on the landfill system of trash management, you need another landfill location. The problem with that is that everyone has the same solution as to where to put the next landfill location. It's called not in my backyard. So if nobody wants a new landfill in their town, and we are still dependent on landfills for our trash management, what do? To get a new landfill location means that some politician has to say, let's take a huge section of our town and fill it with dirty, stinky trash. Well, that's just not going to happen. The other issue concerning our state's trash is that the trash-to-energy plant up in Hartford will be shut down once and for all this coming July of 2022. Only a few months away as of the recording of this show in January. For decades now, the trash-to-energy plant has been burning our trash and creating electricity, putting electricity into the grid. But the party is almost over. Once the trash-to-energy plant shuts down, then what? Well, for now, we will revert back to the old standby, the landfill. But the nearest landfill available to us here in Connecticut is out of state, way out of state. The nearest landfill that Connecticut can use is either in Ohio or Pennsylvania. Now, if that sounds expensive, you'd be right. Hauling our trash out of state as our primary method of trash management sounds expensive because it is. It also sounds absurd because it is. It means higher and higher costs for those of you that have a private trash hauling service. And if you use your transfer station, it means more of your tax dollars being diverted away from services and going to trash removal. So, what can be done? Well, across the state, the municipalities are exploring ways to reduce the tonnage of our trash. By reducing the tonnage of trash hauled away, they reduce the amount of money paid out in hauling fees, thus saving money. There are two areas your town will be looking at, more than likely. First is recycling. There is a lot of usable material in trash that can be separated out and used over and over again. But we'll get to that in a minute. The other area that they'll be exploring is called organic diversion. Basically food scraps, kitchen scraps, or leftovers, not throwing food scraps into the garbage. By diverting food scraps away from the garbage, your town can save a lot of money because food scraps amount to about 30% of the weight of your trash. Now, the world of recycling trash is actually pretty complex. More complex than I can explain in one episode of A Slice of Life. To address that, I will in the coming months invite knowledgeable people onto this program to help us understand the enormity of our growing trash and recycling emergency. But until we get to that point, it is helpful to consider recyclable material as a commodity that is more valuable and usable if it is clean. And by clean, I mean dishwasher clean. Now, I recognize that for some of you, the idea of cleaning what you consider to be garbage is a new and probably absurd concept. But if our society is going to make recycling work, cleaning the household single-stream material is absolutely necessary because the manufacturers that will use this jar to make other things can't use it if it's this dirty. Now, a little food for thought. Legislators, please listen up. How are we going to be handling our trash in 10 years from now? Better yet, how will we be managing our trash when your grandchildren are as old as you are now? Let's go to break.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome to our single-stream recycling facility located in Berlin, Connecticut. Right now, as you see, we're dumping dual-stream recyclables, just the plastic bottles and cans. We can dump either item on our tipping floor. We could take the single-stream, or we could take dual-stream, as it's still currently accepted like that in many communities. Here you can see we've mixed the single-stream and dual-stream recyclables together on the tipping floor. The loader pushes them all in together, loads them into the hopper. As you can see, we have those large chains. They're metering chains. They regulate the amount of material that goes onto the in-feed conveyor. Now, the people that you find along the different belts are there for quality control, removing trash and any unacceptable recyclable materials. It goes over this first set of star screeners. We get some separation. There's a conveyor with plastic, paper, cardboard. A magnet removes any steel cans. And also there's eddy current magnets that remove aluminum containers. There's another set of what's called star screens. There's another individual removing items that shouldn't be on the belt. Nice plastic there. Now this next belt, you still have plastic and paper together. It's going to go through an optical sorting unit. Right there, you can see that it reads the plastic. It blows the plastic up with a puff of air, and the paper drops down below. The optical sorter actually sees the molecular structure of the plastic, and a burst of air comes out and blows the plastic up. Here's another view from a different angle of the plastic bottles being blown up. Paper drops down. People again removing paper from a line of plastic bottles. Another optical sorting unit blowing the plastic up. Now, we have paper and cardboard being dumped on that long conveyor, which is the paper conveyor. You must know at this point that the system is not 100%, and that's why you need actual individuals on the line to further quality control. There's another individual. We've got paper going down the line. There's the actual newspaper, cardboard, and that'll get pushed into a baler. There we have the bins of separated material. It's aluminum cans. And plastic. You can see it's very clean. There's no contamination in that bin. Here we have residual waste. That's material that people are throwing out into the waste stream. We have steel cans, bales of plastic, bales of corrugated cardboard. We have more corrugated cardboard ready to ship out. And there's bales of newspaper.
Because we create demand on stuff there's already demand for.
And that is the end of our tour. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome back. So in this second half, I want to get into the nuts and bolts of recycling. Let's try to clear up some misunderstandings about some of the materials that seem to generate the most questions. First, I want to introduce the concept of recyclable but not acceptable. This is a concept that I first heard about when the recycling department head at the Connecticut DEEP came to Old Saybrook to do a presentation that she calls What's In, What's Out. Her name is Cheryl Baldwin, and she will come to your town and make a very informative presentation explaining the ins and outs of modern day recycling. Now back to recyclable but not acceptable. Recyclable but not acceptable means just that. For instance, shredded paper. Shredded paper is of course very recyclable, but when it gets shredded, the shredding process generates thousands of tiny paper filaments. These filaments get into the air and become a breathing hazard for the mirror workers in Hartford. Shredded paper, not acceptable in the single stream. Another example of recyclable but not acceptable are the plastic bags. Here again, the material that goes into making plastic bags is a wonderful material, very recyclable. But the problem with plastic bags is when the plastic bags make it into the single stream, the bags break open and get wrapped around the sorting spindles of the sorting machine up in Hartford. The spindles get so loaded up with plastic bags that the sorting spindles can't sort anymore. Then the machine has to get shut down and the workers have to go out onto the machine and physically cut the plastic bags out of the machine. As you might imagine, this takes time and money. So plastic bags, perfectly recyclable, but not acceptable in the single stream. Now, the last example of recyclable but not acceptable that I'm going to talk about tonight is the pizza box. Typically, the pizza box is made up of what in the trash business is called chipboard. Chipboard is basically non-corrugated form of cardboard. Cereal and chip boxes are also made from chipboard. All of it highly recyclable. However, when you put a pizza on the chipboard, it tends to soak up the grease and fat from the pizza. The grease, cheese, and bits of sausage actually contaminate the chipboard to the point where the chipboard is unusable in the single stream recycling process. So let's take a moment and examine the pizza box. There's the top, the bottom, and this piece of paper on which the pizza is placed. Without a doubt, this piece of paper is loaded with cheese, not acceptable, throw it in the trash. The bottom of the pizza box can also be contaminated with grease and cheese, and for the most part is not acceptable in the single stream. Throw that out in the trash as well. The top of the pizza box is pretty clean and is very acceptable. In my experience at the Old Saybrook transfer station, I have found that most people want to be good recyclers. They understand the value of reusing the material our society generates. There are a few exceptions, of course, but most people are concerned enough about our future to recycle as best they can. So for the pro recyclers, here's what I do with my pizza box. First of all, this piece of paper and the bottom of the pizza box are contaminated with grease, cheese, and oil and are not usable in the single stream. The top of the pizza box is usually pretty clean and is therefore very recyclable. I cut the top of the pizza box off and put that in the recycling bin. Here's what I do. Cut it off, go around here. This goes in the trash, this goes in the recycling bin. Now, in following along, the cleaner the better, I would like to present the following. In my time at the Old Saybrook transfer station, I see many peanut butter jars that are what I would call far from clean, which causes me to wonder why. For me personally, if I buy a jar of peanut butter, I'm going to use as much of the peanut butter as I can. Here we have a few examples of peanut butter jars that were pulled from the recycling bin. As you can see, each of these still have a lot of peanut butter still in them. These jars, in their present form, are considered by the trash industry to be a contaminant. They should not be in the single stream. If you can't be bothered to clean your peanut butter jars, then just throw them in the trash, not the recycling bin. Myself, I use a spatula to get the last little bit of peanut butter jar out of the jar, and then I put the jar in the dishwasher. Now, all this talk about peanut butter, cleaning your peanut butter jars, may seem a little picky. But remember, in the single stream recycling, there could be thousands, hundreds or thousands of dirty peanut butter jars, all of them adding to the level of contamination in the single stream. Now, some material is just not recyclable. One example is styrofoam. Styrofoam is actually a grade number 6 plastic. It is lightweight and fairly firm. It makes a wonderful packaging material. However, it is not recyclable. Styrofoam is an expanded form of polystyrene foam and is used in everything from packaging to coffee cups. Chemically, it is very stable and lasts a very long time in the environment. Estimates vary from a few years to well over 1,000, depending on environmental conditions. Styrofoam is not recyclable. It has no real recycling value. It is truly a one-and-done, single-use product. Restaurants and manufacturers, please take notice. Now, before I close this show out, I would like to share with you some items of wonder, as in the staff at the Old Saybrook transfer station, and probably your transfer station as well, were filled with a sense of wonder, meaning we wondered what they were thinking in putting these items in the bin. So we have sneakers, a boot, household appliances, countertop appliances of every description. My personal favorite is, of course, the bowling ball. That's right, I found a bowling ball in the recycling bin. People, we need to get serious about our trash management. It's not a joke, it's not funny. Please, if you will, once again, consider the following. What will we be doing with our trash 10 years from now? And of course, the bigger question is, what will we be doing with our trash when your grandchildren are as old as you are now? Something I hope you'll think about. That's it for now. Good night and good recycling.